Well folks, the Sonic PC community has pulled off yet another impossible win. Out of seemingly nowhere, a team of talented individuals released a Sonic Unleashed PC port that is fully playable. No joke, no lie. This past Saturday, I was sitting around minding my own business working on the Mega Man 10 video, and my friend tells me that we have Sonic Unleashed on PC. Not a trailer for an upcoming fan release, but a fully finished and playable product that the dev team apparently put together in 6 months. They recompiled the Xbox 360 version of the game, and this is the result. I've gone over Sonic fan efforts a lot in my videos, and that's because genuinely I believe the fan developer community is one of the biggest reasons I've remained a Sonic fan for all these years, because we see some of the most talented people produce amazing results year after year. To the point where if you don't have a PC and are a Sonic fan, I think you're missing out on how much fun you could be getting out of this series. But let's take a step back and talk about what this all means before I teach you how to play this and what you get out of it. Sonic Unleashed came out for the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 in 2008. It remains to this day one of the biggest Sonic games ever made, containing the most cinematic cutscenes the series has ever seen, some of the highest production values the franchise ever had, and its gameplay changed the way 3D Sonic games were designed from then on. A very necessary game since it was the first big Sonic Team release following the disastrous launch of Sonic the Hedgehog 2006. But Sonic Unleashed was not given the credit it deserved back when it came out. Some of that just came down to the stink of Sonic 06 still being pretty fresh, so Sonic games weren't being given a lot of leniency by critics and hardcore fans at the time. Plus, you have the elephant in the room, the Werehog. In this game, Sonic is his normal self during the day and plays the highest speed stages the series has ever seen, with some of the toughest rankings as well. But in the nighttime, Sonic transforms into the Werehog where the gameplay slows way down and it becomes a complete and utter God of War clone. God of War was one of the biggest action game franchises of the 2000s, and Sonic teams seemingly wanted to get in on the action and thought dumping that gameplay into a Sonic game was how they'd do it. Problem is, it took up well over 60% of the runtime of the game. I've been over all this before, and I'm sure you probably already know all of it if you're watching this video, but in the last several years, Sonic fans who are my age who grew up with this game have been saying, maybe it was given an unfair rep. For Pete's sake, I was 8 years old when Sonic Unleashed came out a whole 17 years ago. It was my most anticipated game of 2008, and it didn't disappoint. It was just an epic adventure across the globe with fun gameplay. It was very unforgettable, especially as the games after Sonic Unleashed moved into a new direction with lower stakes and less action. A pendulum that has swung back in the other direction in more recent years. But the problem with the recent hype surrounding Sonic Unleashed was that it's not an easy game to play these days. As I said, the game's main versions were on the PS3 and Xbox 360. It was not on PC, so we had no ability to play it with higher fidelity even back then. These console versions were all we had back when I reviewed the game in 2021, and it was pretty dire. These consoles have, for the most part, not aged well. It was the first HD console generation, and so many developers pushed the graphical limit beyond anything we'd ever seen before. The issue is that many games from this era look and run like absolute ass. To keep the conversation focused on Unleashed, in this game, Sonic Team was using their own gameplay engine called the Hedgehog engine. Thanks to this, Sonic Unleashed has some absolutely phenomenal lighting effects. Even playing the original version today, that aspect of it still looks quite good. But as stated, there were many compromises to get these visuals. The game ran at a resolution below 720p and upscaled to make up the difference, and the biggest offense of all is that the frame rate was utterly abysmal. Sonic running on the water in Adabat is a fantastic visual and a super fun set piece to play through, but here on the original hardware, the frame rate nosedives. And that's just the 360 version. On PS3, the FPS could reach 60, but the Werehog's fur could tank it to the teens or single digits. The 2008 version of Sonic Unleashed has just not aged well. Emulation of these consoles has produced some results. In my experience, using the PS3 emulator, I could never play it without serious compromises to the visuals, and even then it didn't run perfectly. On the 360 emulator, it was mostly playable, but it had the odd crash every now and again that made it so it was not a reliable way to play the game, even though it's much further along today than it was when I reviewed the game 4 years ago. For the last few years, the best way to play Unleashed was on the Xbox Series X or Series S consoles. On it, you can download Xbox and 360 and Xbox One games for backwards compatibility. Some of them even received enhancements. Sonic Unleashed, alongside other 360 games, got said enhancements. The footage on the screen right now is Sonic Unleashed running on the Xbox Series S. It was 60 FPS and it felt great to play. All the jank that came from playing Unleashed on the original consoles was gone, even during Jungle Joyride Day. To be honest, I actually got a Series S back in 2021 just so I could record this footage. I've gotten a lot of mileage out of this particular gameplay in my Sonic videos in the last few years, but it did have one drawback. The enhancement was just the frame rate. The resolution was still low and blurry looking, with no anti-aliasing either, so it looked both blurry and had jagged edges on the models. What the gamers truly clamored for was Sega stepping up and remastering Sonic Unleashed so we could play it on the modern platforms in its true glory. I used to beg for that as well, but then we got the horrible Sonic Colors Ultimate and messy Sonic Origins back to back, so I was like, never mind Sega, don't even touch it. But to their credit, they did recently remaster Sonic Generations, and that turned out really good, though its pointless rewrite and redub of the story got me concerned what they'd do if they'd ever touched Unleashed. Which brings us to the present moment. The Sonic fan dev community has stepped up and given us something I had no idea was coming, a PC port of the original Sonic Unleashed. Here's how you play it. You download the file from the link in the description. The file is found here. Unzip the download to wherever on your computer you want it to be, preferably in a folder titled something like Unleashed PC. You then run the installer it comes with, and the rest will be super easy. All you need is the ISO file of Sonic Unleashed, the update file the game got, and the DLC files. Legally speaking, you're meant to acquire these by extracting them from your Xbox 360 disc, only the US and PAL versions are accepted. And that's how you do it legally. If you're internet savvy, I'm sure you can find a way to sail the 7 seas and get those. I obviously don't know how to do that. But again, if you have the files, it's pretty plug and play. You do this, you get a quick install screen, and that is it. You have the game. When I started playing, I was wondering how finished it was going to be. Like, was this a beta release? Would it have sound or visual bugs that still need to be ironed out before it's finalized? Well, it could be updated in the future, but hot damn, it is literally perfect right now. I have no notes, no nitpicks, it is quite literally everything you could possibly want from this. Before you start, you should take a trip to the options menu and explore. Here you can pick what language the game's audio is, and you can change the language of the subtitles. You can choose if the day and night transition loading screen is the one from the PS3 version or the infinitely superior 360 version. You can choose if the button icons are PlayStation or Xbox. I, being the PlayStation kid that I am, used PlayStation buttons despite my using an Xbox controller on PC. And then you can change a lot of options for the sound, like the different volume sliders. You can even pick a setting where, if sound is coming from another app like Spotify, the game will play no music and you can just listen to whatever bangers you got going on in another tab while still being able to hear the game's sound effects. And speaking of audio, one of the most infamous aspects of Unleashed came from the Werehog's gameplay. Every time you approached a horde of enemies, this battle theme would kick in. Sad thing is, the track itself is pretty well done, but the opening is so repetitive and you hear it so many times that you're bound to get sick of it as it covers up the level music. That especially sucked because the level themes in Unleashed are some of the best in the series. A great option from this new version is that you can just turn off the Werehog battle theme. And with this option, you honestly don't even notice it's gone after a level or two. Visually, you get many options, like the resolution, VSync, resolution scale, a choice between the original motion blur, an enhanced one, or none at all. The game supports ultra-wide aspect ratio and standard 16:9, and a bunch of other options. I played the game with the default visual settings at 4K resolution and 60 frames per second, and it ran as smooth as butter and looked fantastic. Human models and foliage textures haven't aged the best, but that comes with the territory of a 2008 game. Otherwise, this is legit everything I'd imagine a perfect Unleashed remaster would look like. The in-engine cutscenes are real-time and it looks beautiful. The game really has everything. And it's not hardware intensive to run. Your computer might not be playing it at 4K 60 like mine, but you can definitely get a respectable resolution with a smooth frame rate on weaker hardware. For me, I had a perfect experience. The gameplay was great, the loading screens were almost non-existent, everything about it was just perfect. I don't know what else to say, I thought it was awesome. As stated, I have truly no notes. This is Unleashed, but perfectly optimized for modern hardware, and probably is better than anything official we'd get. There's no DRM packed into this game, for example, or messed up visual effects or script rewrites. It's a perfect restoration of the game. Literally perfect. To the point where I'm fine that fixes weren't made to the issues with the game, because I would rather just have the game exactly as it was, but better looking, than rock the boat with changes. Because of course, I don't think Sonic Unleashed is a perfect game. The pacing is really uneven. Sometimes you play Werehog levels back to back, which are far longer than daytime stages, and you have to go back to Professor Pickle's office for every level for no reason. The metal collecting is still a scavenger hunt you have to do to clear the game, but if you've played this game to the degree that I have in the last nearly 2 decades, you probably won't mind. I didn't have to backtrack or play a single side mission once for this playthrough. I did the full campaign for the video, but now all I want to do is go back and keep playing it and do the side missions and DLC levels, which I will as soon as this video is over. I think these are some of the best and most fun 3D Sonic levels ever, and I think this is a fun clone of God of War. The Werehog can be button mashy if you want it to be, and the reliance on QTEs is an issue that was commonplace back then, but the Werehog has a move pool that I think is fun to work with and cathartic to bash enemies with, and that's good enough for me. I love Sonic Unleashed, and I'm glad to have a perfect way to play it now. It's not my favorite Sonic game, but it's one of them, and I think it's great that a definitive version exists. But that's about all the time we have for today. Thought this would be a cool, quick video to do on the side to spread the word about the new PC Sonic Unleashed and tell you all how to install it. So now we can go back to the Mega Man subject, as Mega Man 10 is my next video. Have fun playing Unleashed at 4K 60, people. Peace out.